you guys know that tomorrow the French will have the final runoff vote for their presidential elections. And it's Marine Le Pen versus Emmanuel Macron, who's the incumbent. And it's basically the far right versus the right. Although in some aspects, I think many people in France, particularly young people on the left, would say they're both far right. In any case, they're indistinguishable enough that a lot of young people in France, especially those who support Melenchon, who view themselves on the left, are sick of this runoff vote and will not be voting. And the real candidate on the left is Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and his party is La France Insoumise, which means the insubmissive France, right? And he was razor thin. I mean, this close to going to the runoff vote against Macron. I'm not kidding. He lost by 1%. I mean, I expected him to do okay, but not that well. I'm pleasantly surprised. That is crazy. So it was a razor thin margin. And now he's proposed something interesting because he's been knocked out effectively from the final round. And he's proposed something interesting. He's saying that the French should elect him as prime minister for what is called la cohabitation. Now, I just realized this video is in French and I didn't find one with subtitles. So I hope I can dig one up very quickly with subtitles. But his idea is that the power in France should be shared. And this is, of course, going back to, you know, the traditional thinking that there should be a system where it's not all the power concentrated in the hands of the president. And even if, you know, they're not in the same parties, you could have the president from one party, in this case Macron, for example, or Marine Le Pen, who knows, and then the prime minister from another party, right? And so all of this depends on the legislative elections, on the parliamentary elections, which will take place in 2 months in June. And so his bid, what he's saying to the French is, elect me as your prime minister. Go out and vote during the legislative elections in 2 months, and we will make a huge change because we will have what is called, again, la cohabitation. You have basically the president from one government, from one party, and the prime minister from another. It's basically like, for example, if you have Biden as the Democrats controlling the White House and the House, and then Republicans controlling the Senate. I'm giving you a very rudimentary example here, but that's his bid. And let me play the video. I'm afraid I couldn't find one with English subtitles, but I'll try and translate without talking over him too much. Let's go.
Je suis venu ce soir vous dire.
I think you should be able to hear the audio. Just 1 second. There you go.
Une chose. Je demande aux Français de m'élire Premier ministre. Je leur demande, pour m'élire Premier ministre, d'élire une majorité de députés insoumis. Insoumis et Union populaire. Et j'appelle tous ceux qui veulent rejoindre l'Union populaire, c'est-à-dire l'essentiel de son programme, à se joindre à nous pour cette belle bataille. Il y a donc un troisième tour. Il n'y a pas seulement un deuxième tour. Il y a un troisième tour. Regardons.
So he's saying there aren't just 2 rounds in this election, right? Which we had the first vote and then the final runoff vote tomorrow with Macron, Le Pen. He's saying it's not just 2 rounds, there are 3 rounds. And he's talking about the legislative.
Bien. Telle qu'est la situation aujourd'hui, l'Union populaire est en tête dans 105 circonscriptions du pays, c'est-à-dire 20% d'entre elles. Et nous sommes au deuxième tour, avec les résultats qu'il y a là, dans les circonscriptions, dans plus de 420 circonscriptions. Ce qui veut dire que c'est possible, parce que nous avons un modèle d'élection législative, lui aussi aberrant, qui est le suffrage universel à 2 tours, et qu'il faut faire 12,5 pour être présent au deuxième tour. Monsieur Toussaint, les calculs que nous avons faits, nous les avons faits sans compter les circonscriptions où on ne fait pas 12,5 aujourd'hui. Si bien que je le dis, si on veut, on peut.
Si on veut, on peut. Basically, when you want to do it, everything's possible. And I think he makes a very, very compelling argument. He's basically saying that, look, we have to get together, and everybody who's serious about coming together as a real political force, this is your chance. This is the chance. Don't think that the game is over because it's going to be Macron, Le Pen. He's really right. I'm telling you, the guy is correct. Obviously, if possible, it would have been nice to have him as the president. His program is very comprehensive, and we went through it on the channel. Go look at the video I made on the French elections last week. But you can still get a lot of things done in the French political system if you have someone like Mélenchon, if you have someone like La France Insoumise winning in a landslide during the legislatives. And I don't think it's wishful thinking. I think this is a very good way to basically recuperate, to gather together everybody who feels disenfranchised by this choice between shit and shit. Because si on est honnête, c'est effectivement ça le choix. This is really the choice that's being proposed to the French in a nutshell. It's really not that attractive. It's, again, I'm going to say how crazy this is that he was this close to winning the election. I'm just going to pull up the results again for you so you can see. Because we were watching them live together. But here you can just see the result from Google. Look at that. Look, this is crazy. Mélenchon, 22%. Marine Le Pen, 23.1%. So he basically lost by literally 1.2%. That is the definition of razor thin, you know? It really is. But it's not over. It's not over. And look at this video that Mélenchon posted on Twitter. And look at the caption. He says, moment fort au Festival du Livre. La jeunesse du pays prépare le troisième tour des élections législatives les 12 et 19 juin. So he's basically saying the youth are getting ready for the third round of legislative elections on the 12th and 19th of June. So this is the spirit that's being adopted now. This is the mentality, and I think it's a positive one, because usually in a case where it's like, again, I'm going to make a very crude comparison here, but in a situation in America where you have Bernie Sanders who loses the Democratic primary, like, that's really game over, because you know they're screwing this guy 3 ways to Sunday. Like, he didn't even get a cabinet position. You know, Pete Buttigieg and all these other guys who got behind Biden, they got rewarded with cabinet positions, and other lowly positions. I think Buttigieg is now the transport secretary. Just mundane things like this, but nevertheless, they're given some position of power. Bernie Sanders, they're just like, screw you and screw you again. And that's really game over. In this case, you do have the people. I mean, just seriously, look at these results. This is really split 3 ways: 27, 23, and 22. So I wouldn't negate this and downplay the importance of it. You have a lot of people that feel disenfranchised by choosing between Macron, Le Pen, and their option is to go with Mélenchon et La France Insoumise in June during the parliamentary elections. And I want to show you here another tweet from Mélenchon. He says that s'il y a une majorité des députés de l'Union populaire, il y aura un premier ministre de l'Union populaire. Les pouvoirs du Premier ministre sont considérables, je les rappelle. And so he's saying if there's a majority of representatives under the Union populaire, you will have a prime minister stemming from that. And the powers that you have as a prime minister in France are considerable, right? This is what a prime minister in France can do under the constitution. So, sur la proposition du Premier ministre, le président nomme les autres membres du gouvernement. This is Article 8 of the French Constitution, and it means that it is under the recommendations of the Prime Minister that the President will name and pick the cabinet members, right? So that's a huge role, because usually in the US, if I can again draw a crude example, Biden wins the presidency and he gets to pick his cabinet. No one is telling him or advising him. In France, it's a little bit different, right? So Mélenchon is just reminding people that the prime minister does have considerable leverage. And the next thing he says, le gouvernement détermine et conduit la politique de la nation. So again, this is part of the idea that it's not just Macron who can run the country to his liking. You have someone like Mélenchon, the government will really be choosing and directing the direction that the country goes in. So you shouldn't forget that. He says, the one in red says, le Premier ministre dirige l'action du gouvernement, Article 21. Again, this means the Prime Minister will direct and shall we say, and guide the actions of the government. The one in green, Article 21, il assure l'exécution des lois, exerce le pouvoir réglementaire. So this means that the Prime Minister in France will make sure that the laws are applied. Article 21 underneath in pink says il est responsable de la défense nationale. Again, the prime minister is responsible for the nation's defense, and I think this is very important for people to understand, because people are used to the idea that, well, you have a president in a country and that's it. They get to choose everything and do everything they want. Power sharing can be very effective in France if you have cohabitation. So I think what you will see is a lot of the people that were disenfranchised, young people on the left, they will come out in bigger numbers in June. That's just my guess. I have a feeling that's going to be the case. And I think there's a real chance to correct, to course correct the really abysmal, dismal choice that people are being faced with tomorrow between Macron and Le Pen. There's a real chance to course correct here. So, best of luck to Melenchon, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Again, my gut feeling, a lot of young people will come out from the left, especially during the legislatives in June.